Young Turks. Whew. First segment was a little angry. Let's bring it back down and do a couple of fun stories, including this one about Satan. I'm not sure we're the only show that thinks that Satan is fun. I know that certainly Oklahoma doesn't think so. So let's tell you all about it. Now, Oklahoma, in their infinite wisdom, passed a law recently that allows for display of faith-based monuments and statues at the state capitol. Great, you know, they're going to put up big Ten Commandments, etc. But they say, hey, you know what? If you're Jewish or any other religion, you're also allowed to put up statues in temples. Well, great, or monuments, I should say. So the Satanic Temple in New York decided to take them up on it, and they were going to put up a 7-foot statue of the pagan deity Baphomet. He's some sort of satanic goat, I believe, but I'm not positive about that. And so that's going to go up. Of course, Oklahoma was pissed about that. And now, on September 21st, as we have another equinox coming, they're going to do another satanic ritual near the state capitol, okay? Now, it's not the Satanic Temple doing it, it's a local satanic group. Apparently, the governor did not realize that, so Governor Mary Fallin says it may be protected by the First Amendment, but that doesn't mean we can't condemn it in the strongest terms possible for the moral outrage that it is. You know the Satanists are fucking with you, right? They don't really think they're going to bring Satan to Oklahoma. They don't think Baphomet is real, whatever it is. Okay. But what's amazing and hilarious is the governor thinks it's real. They're like, oh, this is I can't believe they're going to bring Beelzebub here. This is a moral outrage. Okay, she continues. It is shocking and disgusting that a group of New York City Satanists would travel all the way to Oklahoma to peddle their filth here. I pray they realize how hurtful their actions are and cancel this event. Who are they hurtful towards? Like, are Christians like, oh no, they believe that these people have real power. They think that the Satanists are actually going to bring Beelzebub to Oklahoma. God, you're so stupid. It's unbelievable. Okay, anyway, the problem is she's got the wrong Satanists. It's not the New York folks who are coming down. I believe it's a local group of Oklahoma Satanists. So, of course, the Satanic Temple of New York is outraged by this. And they put out this statement expressing their outrage. For the governor to display such a complete failure of due diligence to the point of erroneously focusing public ire on us is unconscionable. We're disgusted. We've shown a great deal of goodwill in Oklahoma, and this seems to be a deliberate attempt to undermine that. I'm amused by their feigned outrage. I think they played it really right, because that's how the right wing reacts. Always like, oh, I'm outraged. I can't believe they disgust me. How dare they confuse us with the Satanists in Oklahoma? When we had all this goodwill in Oklahoma. Really? Did you? I'm not quite convinced that the Satanists had accumulated a lot of great will in Oklahoma. Now here comes Archbishop Paul Coakley. He jumps into the mix. He's also really worried about this ritual. He says it is, quote, evil in its purest form. Bunch of goofy hippies sitting around doing a nonsense chant. I assure you, it's not evil in its purest form. See, like maybe a serial killer, you know, to maybe some sort of horrific rape. I don't know. It's Hitler. It's definitely not this. Okay, but he elaborates. The satanic ritual that is scheduled to be performed at our civic center is to invoke those dark powers, which I believe are very real, and call them into our city, into our community. Isn't that amazing, man? He really believes it. I guess he's supposed to believe it, but God, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. He thinks that the dark powers are going to woo like black smoke and lost. Ooh, and there's also no explanation of that either. Ooh, we're going to come in and be like, oh, Oklahoma, we are here, pure evil. We're going to get you. They're messing with you. They're not actual Satanists trying to call in the devil to your lovely community. Maybe some Satanists will disagree with me, and perhaps they will bring Beelzebub into this community, which I would be outraged by. Oh, God, man, sometimes this stuff is so real because you got those Yazidis stuck on a mountain in Iraq still because they believe in the Pelican Angel, and then the Sunni radicals believe that the Pelican Angel is also real, but that it's actually the devil, and so they're going to kill them for devil worship. So it gets worse, believe me. There's a lot worse in the world than in Oklahoma, right? It gets super real in Iraq. But look at these guys. Look at our fundamentalists. They're not killing anybody, thank God. Ironic, okay? But they really believe it. They're like, oh, next thing you know, these Satanists are going to bring you the peacock angel. Shaitan. Mm-hmm. How can anybody still believe this? How could anybody still believe this? Oh, they're screwed, by the way, man. That's the internet information age. 20 years from now, 100 years from 200 years from now, people are still going to be like, oh, my God. What if Satan enters Oklahoma City? Come on. Come on. This can't withstand any kind of scrutiny. Anyway, good luck to you in Oklahoma. And I do feel terrible for you because the devil's on his way. Oh, God, the demons they live with, literally. Like, that archbishop probably sees a demon around every corner. Where is he? What's the darkest form? Here he is. Oh, fuck, where is he? Oh, shit. Like, that guy shits his pants on a weekly basis. The dark powers are here. John Locke, what have you done with them? God help them, literally. Okay. Speaking of ISIS, we go to ISIS. Okay. Dennis Michael Lynch is a respected expert in the field, and he knows all about the borders, and he also knows about Islamic terrorism, especially ISIS. That's why Fox News has brought him on as an expert. Well, Dennis Michael Lynch, what do you have for us?
I would guarantee you, in fact, I would bet my life on the fact your last guest just said about ISIS coming into America. I would guarantee you they're already here. I have worked in the desert, and I have caught these people before, and I've seen Korans, prayer rugs, you name it. They're already here.
Wow. Okay, I want to bring you to another area.
I don't know which part of that I love most. I think it was Kilmeade going, wow. Wow. They're already here, dude. Where the fuck are they? They're already here. See, this motherfucker caught him at the border. But, you know, like fishing, catch and release. He just let him go. You don't think it would have made massive news that Dennis Michael frickin' Lynch caught ISIS at the border? You don't think that would have made the news? I got one of them right here, ISIS. Looking to decapitate some Mexicans or something, okay? There he is at the border. Ah, fuck it, I'm gonna let him go. They're already here, I know it. I know it, I saw them. I would double dog dare you to defy me. I would bet my life and spit on my mom's grave. I would. Okay, so what the hell is he talking about? Oh, no, it turns out they have found some prayer rugs. A lot of Muslims in Mexico. So they have found some prayer rugs at the border. Here, let me show you a picture of one. July 9th, 2014. Not so long ago, a little over a month ago. Caught at the border. There it is. Gotcha, ISIS. In fact, let me explain further. A spokesperson for the American Patriot, 3%. That's such a confusing. Everybody's a percentage now. The group's name is American Patriot, 3%. I'm going to name a random group. Americans for America, 8%. Anyway, American Patriot, 3%, a self-styled militia patrolling the Mexican-U.S. border, contacted Breitbart.com and relayed the discovery of the rug Monday night just south of the Sierra Vista in Coronado National Forest. Again, just a little over a month ago, okay? And Matthew Lieber, the leader of American Patriot, 3%, said, it's so funny. Wow. That's when I saw things laying around, and I was like, what the hell is that? We walked over there, and I didn't really want to pull at it, not knowing what was on it. That's always thinking, Matthew Lieber, okay? Always thinking. Look, there could be a booby trap. It could be a bomb underneath. Oh, I think that it's a Quran. It could be, all right? He continues. I poked a bit at it with a stick, which is really smart if it's a bomb. and noticed some of the Arabic writing and was just like, oh boy. I snapped a couple of photos and then went on our patrol. Once again, if you really thought it was like maybe a bomb or something, you might want to call that one in, right? You want to know what it turned out to be? An Adidas jersey. Soccer jersey. Now, what's more likely? Somebody sneaking across the border in a soccer jersey or somebody bringing in their prayer rug? But these guys, I noticed the Arabic writing on it that said, Al Adidas. Wow. Wow. Okay, same group of goofballs. More from them. Breitbart recently reported the same militia group told them that the U.S. Border Patrol had picked up 6 special interest aliens bloop, 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 near Laredo, Texas, each one carrying 60,000 Iraqi dinars apiece. Huh? They got them. Man, that sounds terrible, right? I mean, if you're going to make up a story, that's the one to make it. 60,000. They're going to fight us, some sort of terrorism. They got 60,000 Iraqi dinars. How much is that? 60,000 dinars is equal to $51 in U.S. currency. I'm not sure you could even buy that Adidas jersey with those 60,000 dinars. They're already here. They're already here. Wow. Okay, well, we laughed. We laughed, man. I didn't think we could do it after the first segment, but they got us. These guys see prayer rugs like around every corner. By the way, combine those last two stories. How scared are they, man? They're the biggest cowards in the world. They are. After literally behind every rock is a terrorist or a special interest alien, whatever that is, you know. Right? And then the black folks are coming, and then, you know, and there's Satan, of course, and then Satan is coming. God, look, I get angry on the show sometimes, but I've told you 100 times, right? Like, I'm in real life, we talked about it in the post game yesterday for the members. I'm happy-go-lucky, man. I think I'm the luckiest guy alive, and I feel really good, et cetera, right? These guys are in like perpetual state of panic. Like, who's gonna get me? Who's gonna get me? Oh my God, is it a brown skin person? Is it a demon? Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Oh God, they live such sad, pathetic lives. Okay. All right. Now, speaking of pathetic, let's go to Congress. I love this graph. Now, we know that the Republican Party isn't doing much. They've put the do-nothing Congress to shame. I mean, we did a previous story on how much of a record they've broken and how little bills that they've passed. And the do-nothing Congress passed, like, so much more bills than this Congress. I forget if it was 4 times as much or 10 times as much, but it's a joke, man. They're doing nothing. So somebody did an analysis thinking, hey, wait, now these guys get paid a lot of money, right? So I wonder how much they're getting paid per bill, basically, that they pass, because they pass so few bills and they get paid so much. Well, it turns out they did the analysis, and for the legislative session, they're getting paid now. Here, let's take a look at this chart. $4,368 per bill. Now, that's over, to be fair, that's over 2 years, okay? And you can see that through those different Congresses, that number is going up higher and higher and higher. They're doing less and less, and hence getting paid more per bill. So now let's be fair and break it down annually. $4,368 per bill passed over the 2-year session, or $2,184 per bill per year per congressman. Now, that's no skin off their ass. I mean, they already get a lot of money, but they don't. Turns out they don't really need the money. Are you ready for this amazing fact? A January 2014 study by the Center for Responsive Politics found that for the first time, most members of Congress are millionaires. Remember, we're supposed to live in a democracy with free and fair elections, that anybody could run. Remember, like, oh, the founding fathers, they were farmers and stuff like that, and then they ran for Congress. And then we became more and more inclusive over the years. Now, a majority of our so-called representatives are millionaires. You know what percentage of the American population is considered millionaires when you take all their wealth into account? Well, actually, it's a surprisingly high 4%. Not bad, okay? But it ain't 50%. It ain't over 50%. These guys are, no, you need to be a millionaire to get into this club. And then once you get into the club, by the way, you sit right back down and don't do a goddamn thing. Now, to be fair to the Republican Party, they say that if they capture the Senate, the majority in the Senate, then they'll have the majority in the Senate and the House. Well, then they'll spring into action. So you know what's first on their agenda? I'm not kidding. Vote to repeal Obamacare. They've already done that literally over 40 times. Oh, wow, we're going to give you, and the president's going to veto it, of course, and they know it. They're like, first order, do something useless again. Great. Now, of course, they don't want to pass any regulations because regulations might prevent their donors from, giving them, making more money and then funneling that money over to them, et cetera. You know how it works. But they say, hey, don't worry. We do have useful things in store for you guys if we win both houses of Congress. We're going to pass, you ready? You could guess it. You go ahead, watch. I'll give you a minute. Yeah, you got it. More tax cuts. And he passed more tax cuts, and I hope you're sitting for this, more oil-friendly legislation. Oh, great. That sounds terrific. I'm really looking forward to that. Wolf-pack.com. Throw all the bums out. Throw the Democrats out, too. They largely go along with these lobbyist games and the donor games and stuff. Let's get a real democracy where we're not represented just by millionaires who sit there and don't do anything because they get richer off of doing nothing. Okay, now we go on to the issue of vacations. Okay. Now, every time the president goes on vacation, as he is now at the end of summer, Fox News gets enraged. All the conservatives, there he is, golf, vacation, when the world is burning. People are, they say, are falling from the sky. One host on Fox News literally said that. As people are falling from the sky, you're going to go on vacation. Now, the president has to go on vacation sometime, but I'm sure that it's much worse than any responsible Republican president. In fact, when the Malaysian airliner was shot down over Ukraine, they all said, you see, Reagan wouldn't have done that. When the Korean airliner was shot down in the 1980s, Reagan got out of his vacation and sprung into action. Until we found out, no, he didn't. He sat on his ass for 4 days before he actually was like, God damn it, all right, I'll go to Washington 1 day early and I'll make a speech about it. Instead, they put out a press release on the day the airliner was shot down talking about, hey, don't worry, the president's vacation has not been disturbed. He continues to, do all the fun things like horseback riding that Reagan always does. So they've been lying about it from day one. So on this case here, in case you're not aware of what happens on Fox News, God bless your heart, it's the role of J.R. Jackson here, our producer, to take the hit for you, watch through all this crap, so he can compile this for you on Obama's terrible vacations and golf.
I never make much of what presidents do when they're off time.
Brett, there's been a lot of criticism of the president and taking this 4-day holiday for Father's Day, golfing and doing fundraising, and he's been criticized for his inaction.
Pat, can you help us make sense of the optics of the president golfing on this particular weekend?
Of course, when the president is inactive, as he is now on this issue, has done nothing of substance.
The optics of him golfing, the optics of him going to fundraisers in New York.
Absolutely, and this as the president golfs.
What will it take to get the president actually to go back to his office and work and cut back on a holiday or fundraising?
Look, I think there's a general perception the world is going to hell, and the president's out there playing golf.
Jesus, man, this guy and his golf. I know there's one other president who definitely would not be, if there was like some sort of terrorist attack and the world's going to hell, would not be golfing. Show me that president, JR.
We must stop the terror. I call upon all nations to do everything they can to stop these terrorist killers. Thank you. Now watch this drive. All right, you need another.
I got to hand it to him. That was a nice drive. And President Bush, at some point in 2003, realized, you know what? Golfing in the middle of several different wars I started doesn't look great. I'm going to keep vacationing, but I'm going to cut golf out. Okay, all right, so he did that. Now, look, with all this criticism that Fox News has heaped on the president, he's probably taken more trips and more vacations than President Bush overall, though, right? Well, let's go to the numbers because let's see what they come up with. Because CBS News' Mark Knoller does a great job of tracking this, and he tracked this. Oh, wait a minute now. Looks like Bush took almost 3 times as many trips. Well, Obama's must have been longer. I mean, that guy's always golfing, vacationing. Hey, did you hear what they said? He was vacationing on Father's Day. How dare he? So let's look at vacation days. I think that's a fair metric here. Yeah, that's 129 for President Obama and 349 for Bush. That's almost a full year he was off. And by the way, that does not count the number of times they went to Camp David, and Bush went to Camp David 3 times as much as President Obama has. That doesn't count holidays. That doesn't count vacation days that are normal, as whether it's a federal holiday or the weekends. That's extra vacation on that. He took a whole year off. He took a whole year off. It's unbelievable. Did you remember Fox News being like, oh my God, as bodies are falling from the sky, President Bush is, by the way, what was he doing right before the bodies fell from the sky? President Bush, he was on a month-long vacation in Texas. In fact, he got a warning in the middle of that vacation. Hey, Osama bin Laden is determined to attack inside the United States. And he told the CIA agent, you covered your ass, now go home. And he stayed on vacation. They never criticized that guy. And now they're going after President Obama for too many vacations. They are obvious liars. Like, they know it. They know. They know President Bush took record number of vacations. They mentioned fundraisers. I think President Obama goes to way too many fundraisers. I think all the politicians go to way too many fundraisers. I'd end it. I'd wolfpack their ass and send them all to work, okay? And stop raising the money. You want to guess which president broke the record for number of fundraisers? Okay, doesn't take a genius to figure it out. Of course, George W. Bush. Did they say that on Fox News? No. They're giant hypocrites. They lie to you on purpose. It's not that they don't know, they didn't do the research. Maybe Kilme doesn't, because he's really one of the dumbest people I've ever seen. But the rest of them, they know it, okay? But they say it to you anyway, because the whole point is to confuse you. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep going. Now, I've been talking about the lobbyists, etc. Let's go to that. And now I'll take a... Well, let's put it this way. I'm going to do real criticism of President Obama, not bullshit. Oh, he goes on vacation too much. Oh, Father's Day. Father's Day. Okay, anyway. All right. Hey, good news, everybody. The regulations against lobbying in the Obama administration have been loosened. All right, now let's go to Reuters to remember what President Obama had promised in the first place. Obama came to office pledging to curtail the sway of lobbyists and banned lobbyists from serving on federal advisory boards, which guide government policy on a range of topics ranging from cancer to towing safety. Okay? So there he was. He was going to take action there, and he said, change you can believe in. He said, I don't want to play the same old Washington games a little better. I want to change the way the game is played. How do you do that? You ban lobbyists. Okay. Now, the original ban on lobbyists in his administration lasted literally one day, and then it was gone. They said, well, I mean, there was an exception for Tom Daschle because we really like him, and he's really in bed with the healthcare industry, which we're trying to reform, and we need his expertise. No, but then he got snagged by a tax problem, and then they loosened it for, you know, many other people. Now, in the second term, they're like, who are we kidding? They're not bad. Federal advisory boards, come on in. Reuters explains. A spokesperson for the White House Office of Management and Budget said the administration was revising its earlier guidance on lobbyists serving on federal advisory panels to clarify that lobbyists may now serve on such panels when they are representing the views of a particular group. Well, those groups got to get represented. I mean, God forbid, Lockheed Martin might not be represented on a federal advisory panel, okay? So let's make sure that the swarm of locusts come right back into Washington, besides which they never left. They were just doing loopholes, etc. And they're like, God, it's such a pain in the ass, and no one cares anyway. Everybody in Washington, Republicans, Democrats, we're all in on this game. Let's just drop all pretenses. Besides which, President Obama is not up for re-election. He doesn't have to pretend anymore that he's going to bring you change. He's not going to, okay? It's not going to change the way Washington works at all. The Washington works exactly as it did before. And the best that he could brag about is that he played the Washington game a little better, which I would argue he played it a little worse, But if you're a big Obama supporter, you say, hey, Obamacare and this and that, he played it a little better. Did he actually change? Can any Obama supporter with a straight face say that he changed the way Washington works, where the special interests, the donors, the lobbyists have all the power? Can really, so please tell me, anybody with a straight face, can you say that? Of course you can't say that. No, but even the biggest Obama supporter in the world couldn't possibly say that with a straight face. So Reuters says, the head of a lobbying industry trade group called the change a positive step that will allow the government to draw on the expertise of people whose experience can be beneficial in making policy. You see, they have expertise in the industries that will be ruling us, and so their expertise is very important and needs to be on this panel and to be heard from. So here they come again. And just so we're clear on this, the president of the Association of Government Relations Professionals, you know, recently I did a story about that. They changed the name. They're not lobbyists for lobbyists anymore. The lobbyists are now government relations professionals. Very clever. Well, the head of that group said, quote, in case you weren't sure, in case you were saying, hey, Cenk, maybe this is a minor little thing and you're blowing it out of proportion. No, the head of the lobbyists said, quote, it is a significant change. In other words, that's him saying, thanks, Obama, but actually meaning it. Thank you, Obama. We appreciate it. Change. That was a good one. That was a good one. Change. Young Turks.
That was a segment from hour one of the show.
Now for the better hour, the second hour.
Drums. You can get the whole show on TYT-network.com.
All right, back on the Young Turks. All right, update on the Tony Stewart poll. Turns out I gave you incomplete numbers yesterday.
Okay.
Okay. Number of people who said Tony Stewart should not be held responsible is actually 2,948, which is a lot. Completely responsible was 1,072.
Okay.
So about a third of that number. And then, yes, partially responsible is 3,551.
Okay.
So, yes, partially responsible did win at the end. So the percentages are about what they were, as I reported to you yesterday. But there are a lot of people who said he's not at all responsible. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that's a lot of votes, dude.
Yes.
That is over 7,500 votes. God bless. Okay. We're going to do another poll today. But I just wanted to update you on that. All right. Tweets, mainly talking about the church porn, of course. First, there was a random insult of me that I wanted to share. Alucard Dawnbearer says, if Cenk showed his gut, I'm afraid it would burn out my retinas. Nice hands, though. I'm going to focus on the positive compliments on the hands. Okay. Osvaldo Lara says, I've seen those videos in church, Cenk. They're incredible. Highly recommended. James Moon says, the video actually does show her face. I've seen it before. It's amazing how many people in the audience have watched that specific porn before we even did the story.
Especially considering the plethora of pornographic videos that you can watch online. By the way, quick question about porn. Do people fall in love with porn stars? Like, do they, not like literal love, but do they find a porn star that they like and then they look for all of her videos and that's like what they're into? Or do they not care? Is every woman just like a random badge that they like to watch? Get pummeled.
Get pummeled, Jesus. Okay. I have answers to that question.
Thank you. I'm glad you do.
No, because it's a question that might not have an answer. Like, I don't know, right? Based on Google searches, the answer is yes. Because they sometimes in certain countries, a very specific porn star will be the #1 most searched either porn name, porn like title, category, or overall name.
Interesting. Okay.
And it'll be sometimes the same stars, sometimes different stars, depending on the country. But there's definitely 1 or 2 stars in almost every country, so that they look at. So now, to me, like new porn, they all look identical to me. I can't tell one porn star from another. They all have giant fake breasts, incredibly fake look all throughout, and they have the really stupid stripper shoes, and I can't stand it, right? But in the old days, when porn was movies, it was class, okay? Then yes, of course, Vanessa Del Rio, let alone Nina Hartley, let alone, all the classics.
We should continue this conversation in the postgame. I have stuff to add to it.
Yes. JR wanted to have an ISIS conversation in the postgame. Canceled.
Really?
Porn conversation in the postgame. That's what's happening instead.
Sorry, guys. For all of you who wanted something substantive in the postgame show, I just ruined it.
Okay. All right. So, members of the day, by the way, who can watch that postgame. And member number 1916, Carl Jacobson. We're going to have a TYT Hall of Fame soon, and I believe the top 100 people are in the Hall of Fame. So, well, anyway, maybe I shouldn't have spilled those beans, but we'll get to that later. Member number 2576 is Simon Szbiot.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that, and so I had already planned to say, oh, yeah, go for it.
Where is it?
Right there.
Okay. Szbiot.
Okay, I don't know if that's true, but that was pretty good, actually.
I think it was closer than what you said.
Yeah. Simon Szbiot, member number 2576.
I bet you it's Szbiot.
Okay. Simon, Carl, we love you guys. God bless. By the way, so there's many different ways to watch the show. Of course, you can watch it live, as some of you are doing right now. The only way to get the whole show plus the postgame is to be a member on TYTnetwork.com. Of course, we recommend that. If you want a half-an-hour version of the show, that's hulu.com/The Young Turks. Top 5 stories of the day.
Yeah.
And if you missed an earlier portion of the show, the story on ISIS crossing the border, it was awesome. Okay, so don't miss that. You can catch it either as a member or on hulu.com/The Young Turks. Okay, what's next?
All right. Back in 2012, a 16-year-old girl was brutally raped in Steubenville, Ohio. Now, there were a number of football players on the Steubenville high school football team that were involved in this rape. Either they took part in it, or they were filming it, or taking pictures of it as it occurred. Now, the reason why this story made national headlines was because no one faced any charges until Anonymous got involved and released and leaked information and basically pressured local authorities to get involved and finally do something about it. As a result, 2 football members, or I should say football players from the Steubenville, Ohio football team did get convicted in this rape case. One of them was Trent Mays, who was sentenced to 2 years in juvenile detention. And the second person was Malik Richmond, who was sentenced to 1 year in juvenile detention. Now, Richmond has served his time. He got out of the detention center. However, the Steubenville football team has decided that they are going to take him back and allow him to play as a wide receiver. I should note that he is on probation, and he is considered a Tier 2 sex offender who has to re-register for the next 20 years. So there is obviously controversy regarding this. Should he be allowed to play football again, especially given the context of the story, and especially given the context that the administrators at the school didn't want to press charges, even when they had evidence that this rape occurred. They had images, they had video, and the girl was severely bullied after the rape took place.
So he was convicted of rape. That's pretty serious, obviously, and it's not an open question anymore because he was convicted. Now, he is a juvenile, so that makes it a little bit different, but 1 year seems a pretty light sentence for rape. If he was an adult, it'd be an insanely light sentence for rape. But, okay, so he comes out. Now, one side would say, look, he did his time, whatever it was, right or wrong, that's the jury convicted him, and then this is the sentence that he got, or the system convicted him. And once he served his sentence, of course, he can go back to doing whatever he can do as a free person, and among that is play high school. The other side of the equation says, well, look, you can get thrown off the high school football team for a million things, right? Cursing sometimes.
Your grades aren't good enough.
Right. Smoking pot will definitely get you kicked off the team in most areas, right? And by the way, it of course depends on how good a player you are, right? You would think a rape conviction might do the job, right?
Yep. I think it's beyond ridiculous that they're allowing him to play again. And you have to look into the entire context of the story. One of the big problems with this story was the fact that the administrators, the teachers, the authorities in the area refused to do anything about this rape, even though they had evidence of it, because all they care about in this area is this particular football team. They didn't want to stir the pot. They didn't want to get rid of their best players. To them, that game was more important than justice, which is crazy to me. And they knew that this girl who had been raped and who had all of these pictures circling around the internet was being bullied, and they still didn't want to do anything about it, right? So let's talk about the legality of this. It's totally legal for them to put him back on the football team, okay? So there's no question about that. But if we're going to have a debate about ethics, this is beyond unethical. And if you want more evidence as to why it's unethical, look at how they freaking brushed this story under the rug, the authorities in the area. So if they want to save face at all, this is a really bad idea. In May, Steubenville Superintendent Michael McVeigh, 51, was charged with felony counts of tampering with evidence and obstructing justice and misdemeanor counts of falsification and obstructing official business in relation to the case. So they would rather tamper with evidence to make sure that these guys can continue playing football on their beloved football team. That's more important to them. It's unbelievable.
Then how about protecting the girl? I mean, did that never cross their minds? Volunteer football coach Matt Bellardine was sentenced to 10 days in jail for one count of making a false statement and one count of enabling underage drinking. His house was the scene of the underage drinking party that preceded the incident.
Yep.
And that's according to the Huffington Post. And in April, wrestling coach Seth Fluharty was ordered to perform 20 hours of community service as punishment for failing to report the rape. So you see a culture here that's clearly covering up for the guy. He must be a good player, too. Because they wanted to cover up for him in the first place. This is what they do for stars. Come on, man. After a rape conviction, I mean, first of all, in the beginning, if you thought he was innocent, you wouldn't have to cover up, right? Okay, they do the cover up. They get in trouble for it. He goes to jail. Now he's got the conviction, and you're still going to put him back on the team? You're crazy. You're crazy.
It's beyond crazy. And look, if anything, it's a bad idea because it just reinforces the notion that you cared about the football team more than a victim of a brutal rape. That's it.
Now, is there an argument to be made that he served the time? JR, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean,
there we go. Well, I remember I was mentioning that before. This is the thing, and we're talking legally, and I think we brought that part in. Sure, they can allow him back on team legally, but as we're saying, it's one of those things where maybe he can play somewhere else. You got to get the hell out of town, kid. There's plenty of women, girls, let's say, who end up in these situations, and they literally get run out of town. Like they're the bad guy.
This woman continues to be harassed.
Yeah, they get run out of town. And so that's when the perception has to change. So I don't think, I mean, we can first argue the sentence. But if we get by that and he served time, there's nothing legally people can do, but there should be some kind of sentiment in the community. Like,
absolutely.
This guy's coming back to school here?
It
he
sends
should be
a
expelled.
message.
And obviously we see this superintendent, whoever made the decision to cover up and he got those charges, he shouldn't work in education anymore. It's obviously irresponsible. So that guy, I think, can be taken out. And the student should just simply be too embarrassed or too much of an outcast in the community to even come back.
See, that's
play
really
somewhere else. Or, I mean, if you go to college, hey, start your new life and play college in Southeast Iowa State, somewhere.
Right. So that's a really good point by Jay, because, look, I don't want this guy to be, like, he did do his time, so we don't have to follow him around with a pitchfork the rest of his life, right? But, I mean, if you don't get expelled for this, what are you going to get expelled for? Do you get expelled for murder? I don't know. Like, yeah, and if you get expelled doesn't mean you can't ever go back to school. But you can't go back to this school. I mean, I don't know if the victim's still at the school.
No, she's not. She was actually from a different area, so she's not even living in that town.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I know it's not a slight burden on his family to have to move, and I don't know what their financial situation is. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, you got to get expelled, let alone back on the football team. But look, hey, we're gonna do a poll on this because. You guys often surprise us. You surprised us on the Tony Stewart poll with the number of people who said, no, he wasn't at fault at all. It was a very high percentage who said that. So we're asking in this case, should he be allowed back on the Steubenville football team?
Right,
Okay,
and there's two options, yes or no. If you want to participate in the poll, all you have to do is go to tytnetwork.com/Malik Richmond poll. It's also featured on the front page of our website, tytnetwork.com. Check it out.
And so the link is also below if you're watching on YouTube in the description box. Okay. The reason we do the polls is because I'm always curious which way is going to come out. I have a feeling this one might surprise us too, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the fun priest in Greece. So an 83-year-old priest in Greece is spending a considerable amount of money to free nonviolent offenders that are locked away. Now, Greece has a really interesting system set up. If you have been convicted of a nonviolent crime or a petty crime, you can buy your freedom. And oftentimes, this is something that benefits the wealthiest individuals because they have the resources to buy their freedom. And the poorest people remain behind bars. Now, the priest in question has spent a lot of money over the last 4 decades, and he has helped more than 15,000 convicts. Now, let me give you some more information. As I mentioned, 15,000 convicts had their freedom after he helped them out over the last 4 decades. And to give you a little more information about the system that's set up in Greece, the Greek rules apply only to people convicted of offenses that carry a maximum 5-year sentence, such as petty fraud, bodily harm, weapons possession, illegal logging, resisting arrest, and minor drug offenses. I don't know how I feel about bodily harm, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about illegal logging being so prevalent in Greece. Okay. It's a random thing in that list, but okay. But actually, the whole idea of being able to get out by paying a fine, I find actually really offensive.
I do too, absolutely.
In this case, it was turned for good, and this priest, I think, did a great job.
Yes.
And as you'll see from the whole story, but it's super questionable to begin with.
I just find it, and by the way, his name is really difficult to pronounce, which is why I haven't said it. It's Gerovosios Rapatubopoulos.
Why would you think that's hard to pronounce?
It's difficult to say, but I wanted to give him props because I love that he's actually concerned about helping the poor. In this case, the poor that are convicted of minor offenses. But I don't agree with being able to buy your freedom. I mean, if you feel that these are minor offenses, then why don't you focus on like rehabilitating them, maybe making them pay like a fine or doing community service as opposed to putting them behind bars? I think that would make a lot more sense than putting them behind bars and then allowing rich people to buy their freedom. I'm sure there's a little bit of like profiteering or something going on behind the scenes.
No, it's for rich people so they can get out of minor things like this and be like, oh, illegal logging, please. Okay, we paid that off already. So there's the amazing case of Ecclestone that I've been meaning to tell folks about for a couple of days now. He's from London, but he went to Germany on a bribery charge, and he bribed his way out of the case.
Yep.
Okay, now not technically bribery, but he'd paid over a $40 million bribe, and he's like, oh, I didn't know it was a bribe. What did you think the $40 million was for, right? And they settled, and they decided that he would pay a fine, it was a huge fine. I think it was around $100 million, right? But he's like, no, I didn't really do it, but here's $100 million. Okay, dude, you did it. Okay, so he serves no prison time by being able to buy his way out of it. Now, here, this guy used it for good because, like, God, the people he got out, there are all these, like, really touching stories. They had done this minor thing. It's almost like out of Les Mis. Like, Jean Valjean is like, I stole a loaf of bread to feed my sister, right? And he gets them out, and they come back and thank him decades later. And they repay him, by the way, so that he could use that money to get other people out. So it's very heartwarming, and I love the priest for doing this.
Yeah, I love it as well. I think overall it's a happy ending, but they should probably reconsider changing the system in Greece.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, I'm glad that at least he's serving a little bit of justice out. And by the way, this is exactly what you're supposed to do as a Christian, to go to the poor, the needy, that need your help the most and help them. Remember, Jesus didn't judge the prostitute, he helped her, right? And so he's living by a rare Christian leader actually living by Christ's teachings. Okay, now one last thing that I found amazing in this story. They say Greece, there's overpopulated prisons, and now they're doubling up a lot in these cells, and they shouldn't be, and it's a big problem for them. You want to know the whopping prison population in Greece? 13,000 inmates.
That's like what we have in one prison here.
Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? That's like
That's
a small county in America's prison population. Like, America imprisons, I believe, 25% of the prisoners in the world are in the U.S. That's amazing, right? We We put in prison every year over 700,000 people for marijuana possession. Just marijuana possession. Every year, 700,000 people. A non-violent offense.
That sounds like a good use of resources.
Yeah, Greece is like, oh, we got a big prison problem here. We have 13,000 people in prison. Ooh. So, I mean, I find that amazing because it gives you a sense of how draconian we are here in the U.S.
All right. I want to end on a fun story, so let's do the condom one. Is that cool?
Go.
Let's do it. All right. There is a condom delivery service in 3 major cities here in the United States: Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York. The business is referred to as L Condoms, and it doesn't matter what time it is. It could be in the middle of the night, and if you need a condom, they will deliver it to you in under an hour. Now, this is a great service because some people have that issue. You know, they bring someone home, they're getting a little crazy, and then all of a sudden they reach into their drawer and they're like, shoot, there's no condom. What do we do? Well, you just like get on the internet, you log in. You buy a box of condoms for $15, and they'll deliver it within 1 hour, which is amazing. $5 flat rate shipping. This is not an ad for them. This is more of a piece of advice, just in case you find yourself in this terrible situation.
Terrible situation. I need to get laid. I don't have a condom. What am I going to do?
No, and it is a terrible situation because I think a lot of people, stupidly, will be so into the moment that they'll just go for it anyway, and that's really dangerous.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yes.
And so I'm going to unnecessarily tell you how stupid I am. When I first saw the story and it said 24-hour condom service, I was like, who the fuck's going to wait 24 hours? They mean, of course, they're available 24 hours of the day. They'll get you the condom in an hour.
Yes.
Which, though, is still could be a significant wait. You know, you're going to have to reignite things.
Gives you a little more time for foreplay.
Yeah, I was going to say, women are probably going to be like, I'm sick of my boyfriend. He just doesn't do anything. We just jump right to it. It's like, let's just hold off. Maybe it'll take an hour. We'll see if it shows up. See if he can hold on that long.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do an hour of foreplay, but it does seem to be a rather long period of time.
Oh, my God, really?
I'm not saying I wouldn't do 7 minutes of foreplay, but...
Oh, my God.
But TikTok, time's a wasting, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but it's working for them. Their sales have increased 500%.
Yeah, I can't believe that this service didn't exist before. Look, every once in a while, like I've talked about this before on the show, me and my brother will sit down and we'll like start thinking about business ideas. We're like, we've got to open a business, but we don't know what it's going to be, right? And we get into all these like complicated ideas. It's so simple. Yeah, people are going to need condoms, condom delivery. I think I might be their competition. I think I might create my own condom delivery business.
Okay, now wait a minute. That's an interesting idea. If the person delivering the condom is a hot girl, okay,
I mean,
that might be a different business.
I'm probably not going to deliver them myself, but maybe I can hire hot girls to do it. Oh my God, now I'm thinking. And maybe I can expand. Maybe we'll sell like lube and stuff like that too.
Expand.
Full
Okay.
service.
Full service. If the delivery girl throws in a massage, you're going to have the best business in America.
Right.
Okay, that's your personal story there started a little uncomfortable. You're like, so me and my brother I was like, oh no, don't tell me you were thinking about a condom business with your brother.
No.
Okay.
No, by the way, just some more details on this story that I found fascinating. They want to be as sustainable as possible. They don't want to pollute the environment, so they have people deliver the condoms on bikes, which is kind of incredible. And also, the person who does the delivery has no idea what he or she is delivering. At least that's what they claim.
Yeah, and by the way, they're in just large cities like New York, San Francisco, and LA, I believe now. So it's not like they're in a random county in the middle of Wyoming. They're like, oh, geez, and Lord mercy, still biking, still biking.
But if you're living in a random county in the middle of Wyoming, there's a, you know, an untapped market there.
Okay, but don't use the bikes. And by the way, yeah, all right. I was going to do a corny joke. Better left unsaid.
I like your corny joke.
No.
Can I guess? Was it about tapped? Is that where you're going?
The market has not been tapped enough?
No, I was just going to...
you guys are going to make me say it now. It's going to be even worse. No, I was going to say, if they've already waited an hour, they're pretty sustainable.
I liked it. I get it. He can keep it up. That's good.
Well, I was going to pull it back. You guys made me do it. That's not fair. All right. Okay. All right, we're done, guys. So, post-game is a topic that comes up frequently in post-games. Now, yesterday, okay, here's the variety you get in post-games. If you're not a member, just to fill you in, okay? Monday's post-game was about family, and it was pretty schmoopy, okay? Tuesday's post-game started about depression and suicide, but actually became about how to enjoy life.
Yes.
Okay, so that was pretty interesting. Wednesday's post-game, today's post-game, we'll go back into the familiar territory of porn. Okay, so, and I'll go into more depth, if you will, and I'll tap that story and in a sustained manner and tell you more about my, oh, you know what, I'll throw in, you got questions, I'll answer your questions, and I'll throw in a random story about how far I went once to watch porn.
Oh, damn, all right.
Okay, I mean, you want to talk about sustainable and biking and stuff, all that is in there, okay? All right, guys. Bye-bye.
You liked that, didn't you?
All right. If you want the whole show, you like it even more, go to TYTnetwork.com. Go under member options, and you can get the whole show anytime you like.